Let's see what's up with what Kevin McCarthy had to say.
Can I trade places with you?
We got to jump over to Capitol Hill right now. Kevin McCarthy speaking to reporters.
We have worked for a long time. I've been leader for 4 years. I came into this position and we had less than 200 members. We are now sitting in the majority. We put forth to the American public a commitment to America. There's times we're going to have to argue with our own members if they're looking at for only positions for themselves, not for the country. For the last 2 months, we worked together as a whole conference to develop rules that empower all members. But we're not empowering certain members over others. Last night I was presented the only way to have 218 votes if I provided certain members with certain positions, certain gavels, to take over the church committee, to have certain budgets. And they even came to the position where one, Matt Gaetz, said, I don't care if we go to plurality and we elect Hakeem Jeffries and it hurts the new frontline members not to get reelected. Well, that's not about America, and I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves. So we may have a battle on the floor, but the battle is for the conference and the country, and that's...
Okay, before we watch further, because I actually, this is about as far as I watched this morning. Again, like I said, it's like, you know, it's rich for any Republican, especially someone like Kevin McCarthy, you know, who still to this day is brown-nosing Donald Trump. It's rich for someone like him to say that, well, I'm doing this for the American people. I'm for the public. And Matt Gaetz, he's just, you know, trying to get some clout and notoriety for himself. Like, bruh, yo, you still to this day will not publicly criticize Donald Trump. A man who doesn't give a damn about, I mean, yeah, he came on and he wants you to, you know, to be the speaker now. But throughout his tenure in office, remember it came out that Kevin McCarthy was yelling at Trump. And he was like, I think he said, who the hell do you think you're talking to, or something like that. But publicly, he won't have that type of energy for him. So it's like, why? Because his career, he's protecting his career. Like, dude, shut up. And that's what a lot of these people kill me, because you got to keep in mind a lot of, you know, a vast majority of people in Congress, because like I was talking about the other day, politics, you know, of course, there's a place for young people in politics, but politics is more of an older person's game, because older people have been around longer. They've accumulated more resources. They have more people within their network. They have more influence. They have more power. It's just what it is. I say that to say a lot of these people who are in Congress, they already are powerful. They already are wealthy. They don't need that job. You feel me? So a lot of them, they have that job because it's just an additional level of power for them. And it feels pretty good to be that powerful. You know what I'm saying? So again, like, these people are like, oh, well, I'm doing it for the American people. When has Kevin McCarthy ever been in favor of anything that the majority of the American people were in favor of? Do you see Kevin McCarthy fighting for higher wages? Do you ever see him holding corporations accountable? Do you ever see him saying anything positive about the movement to make healthcare more publicly paid for? He doesn't do any of these things. He never does any of these things. Kevin McCarthy does not need the job that he has. He doesn't need that position. You know what I'm saying? Matt Gaetz, I don't even need to talk about him. But the ultimate point is, before we keep watching this, is that the Republican Party is such a cesspool of corruption and just, you know, kind of toxic culture, I guess would be a good way to sum it up. There's such a cesspool of that's kind of all they are right now. You know, so again, it's like, dude, shut up. And the irony of it all is, what would be the damn difference if Kevin McCarthy was speaker or anyone else in the Republican Party was speaker? What would be the difference? Please enlighten me. All right, let's keep watching.
Fine with me.
What do you think the battle is for the country and the country?
Yeah.
The problem is that you have a math problem. You just can't get there. So what do you do on the 10th vote, the 30th vote, the 50th vote, if it just doesn't move?
Look, I have the record for the longest speech ever on the floor. I don't have a problem getting a record for the most votes for speaker too. Thank you all. Well, I don't see how a few people.
That was kind of gangster. I mean, I'm bullshitting, but he said, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. You know, look, I done stood my ass up on the floor of Congress longer than anybody else, and I also don't mind, you know, getting more votes. That was kind of gangster. That was player. You got to give him a few points for that. You know, he snapped back at her. He gave her what she had coming. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's watch.
Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 20. Sit because they want a gavel that they can't earn by the conference of themselves. That would be interesting to me. That's not what the constituents voted him for.
What do you think was the first impression of a Republican majority for American?
All right, you have Kevin McCarthy coming out really kind of unannounced from what has been now at this point more than an hour behind closed doors with the Republican conference in the basement of the Capitol. They've been trying to work out what can be described, I think an understatement would be to describe what this has been as Hill drama. I mean, this has been kind of a historic amount of inter-party battle over what Kevin McCarthy has been vying for so long, which is to try to get the speaker's gavel. Now, as they're about to, in just a few short minutes, gavel in the next Congress and the new Republican majority. Let me bring in right now CNN political director David Chalian, CNN chief congressional correspondent Manu Raju on this. Manu, they just came out, Kevin McCarthy making very clear that he's ready to have a fight on the floor.
See if they have anything
things didn't simmer down when the conference got together behind closed doors just now.
Yeah, look, Kate, I have covered a number of these closed-door meetings. This is about as contentious as it gets. They were people cursing at each other. They're going back and forth. The leader making clear that he is not going anywhere. Kevin McCarthy said that despite all of the push to get him out there by a handful of members, he has made concession after concession after concession, saying he's not ready to go there. They're not ready to go even further. Others pushing back. He got into a back and forth, an extended exchange with one detractor, Chip Roy of Texas. He got into another one with Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, another person who has indicated that he is likely to vote against him, saying that we have to move forward here. A number of people coming to his defense, people saying that Kevin McCarthy was nominated by his conference, deserves to be elected speaker, and himself, McCarthy, saying he has earned this job. But one thing it did not change, Kate, is the math. Kevin McCarthy still has a math problem because of the narrowness of the House Republican majority. 222 seats they will now occupy. That means he can only lose 4 Republican votes on the floor. There are more than 4 Republican votes who plan to vote against him. Several of those members coming out just told me they are still hard-nosed. People like Congressman Bob Good, Andy Biggs, Chip Roy, who I mentioned, signaling he's a no, Scott Perry as well. The list could be up to 10, 14, maybe even 20 members voting against McCarthy on that first ballot. Then the question is, what happens next? No one has any idea. It has not happened for 100 years. We've gone into multiple ballots for a speaker's race, but the House cannot govern until they elect a speaker, which is why we could see this go on for many hours after the first ballot, second ballot, and third ballot.
Okay, so we got the gist of that. And again, I think the biggest thing to take away again from all of this infighting, despite everything that we just talked about before, the reality and the state of the Republican Party is that, this will be the reason that the Republican Party doesn't take the presidency in 2024. This will ultimately be what beats them. Joe Biden, his approval rating has gone down. But as we know, in politics, many things can change in a variety of months. I don't really expect Biden to do anything else of note. There were a handful of things that he did in the first half of his term, but he started the second half of his term. Well, let's talk in the first half. He pardoned over 1,000 prisoners for nonviolent drug offenses. And he, I'm smacked. I'm high. He did a few other things, which again, he did like one other thing again. So I'm smacked right now, but it's also funny because again, he really ain't done that damn much. I wasn't even going to say the bill at the beginning of his term, the cash infusion and the checks and stuff like that, because that was really rolling over from the Trump administration and continuing on with that. Damn. Well, that's you know what I'm saying. Blame Susana Santos. But again, other than the pardoning with the checks and whatever the hell else he did, I'm smacked. I'm high. I got a lot going on right now. That's really all he did in his first term. But then he started his first half of his first term, and then he started his second half of the term by stiffing railway workers and union workers. And despite him running on a platform of being like the most union supporting president, he didn't give the rail workers really what they were looking for. And the excuses that, the economy was going to shut down and we really didn't have time to address it properly. Yeah, that's the same old mess that the Democrats always say. So, there's a few things that he can do executively. He can go after the drug scheduling. He can press forth with the move he already made in terms of with the strikes of marijuana and letting the prisoners go. But other than that, there's really not much else that's going to happen, especially with the House being divided. But that being the case, if the Republican Party can't do any better than what it's doing now, it's just going to come down to, 2028 is right around the corner. And that's really, in my opinion, what most people who have a lot of political insight and a lot of skin in the game. Yes, there's going to be a lot of money spent on this election, but people are really looking at 2028 more than this race, because even if we kind of didn't have the exact same situation going on as we did right now, defeating an incumbent president is always a difficult thing to do. It just is. It's happened a few times, but it's not easy because the incumbent has all the resources. They already have the party behind them. The bureaucracy, the infrastructure is already set. So, it just kind of, it's easier to kind of put all your eggs into a race where it's just a complete fresh start. So that's I really don't know what the hell is going to happen in this race. Nobody does. Nobody really can say what's going to happen because Trump has all these cases pending on him now. We don't really know how that's going to impact him moving forward. Ron DeSantis, he's popular in the party, but as we talked about before, that does not mean that he's going to run a good presidential campaign. We have to see how he's going to do that, So, and then on the Democratic side, unless Joe Biden doesn't run, which why would he just not run? Why would he just back out of the race? We cannot want him to run again, but okay, so what? Thing is that somebody would have to, if he doesn't, drop out, then somebody has to step up to the plate and beat him. So, if they don't step up to the plate and beat him, then it really doesn't matter. So this is really just, in my opinion, until 2028, it's kind of just going to be stale. A lot of stuff's going to happen culturally, but other than that, like when it comes to legislation and things, it's just going to be kind of blah, kind of boring. There's all this chaos again surrounding Kevin McCarthy's nomination, but what would really be the difference if he won versus another Republican? So that's kind of all I really got to say about this right now. Still early. We still got to see what's going to pan out, what's going to happen before we even have anything to really work with at all. Nobody really can give any real legitimate predictions on the 2024 election right now. But what I do know is that if the Republican Party stays like this, then Biden will just waltz back into the presidency by default.